Hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Nationals podcast. Joining us today, it is Max Rayman of District on deck. We are talking Nationals draft picks, two big ones last night that we'll get to, and then I'll talk about some of the guys coming in right now. The picks are coming fast and furious, but really a focus today on Elijah Green and also Jake Bennett, the two picks the Nationals got in rounds number 1 and 2. That's coming up.
Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, hello everybody. Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Nationals podcast. You guys see the Big 12 flag behind me. A whole lot going on today. Big 12 guy was taken, though, by the Nationals. We'll have to get to that here in just a second. But, Max, I made this comment on the Monday episode of Locked On Nationals I did. Like, there's so little happening with the Nationals through a big stretch of time. And then, of course, the weekend, we're very much looking forward to the draft. We get all the Juan Soto news. And I was also talking about how baseball, it's all over the place, right? I'm not sure if you saw the John Heyman piece today about, some of the negotiations for Soto and what's happening. But there are three, there's, I forget the guy's name. Who is the guy, the Spanish reporter?
Hector Gomez.
Right. And his stuff does not line up with what Jesse Doherty says in Washington Post. And then also, you have John Heyman coming in here with some firsthand accounts of whatnot. And it sucks because right now Nationals fans can't even enjoy the draft, right? They can't even dream big right now because they're thinking about Juan Soto and everybody's thinking about Juan Soto right now. And so it's of course, right on draft weekend, we get this news. And on today's show, Max, to be honest, I barely even touched the draft because of how important the Soto stuff is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Twitter. I'm in some Nats chats here and there, and I've seen some fans say the same thing. Been looking forward to the draft all year long. Now I came and focus on it. And I understand it. It's one of the biggest names in baseball. You can make an argument that he's the best hitter in the game, and he may be coming, maybe leaving. And then you had the stuff this morning. I don't know if you saw it. He made a post on his Instagram account about some video, and some people said if you listen to the lyrics and decipher the lyrics, it talks about how he wants out. And some people said that wasn't true, and it was just a big whole thing. And so now every little thing he does is under the microscope. So yeah, it takes away everything from the draft, which is kind of upsetting because, in my opinion, the Nats are having a hell of a draft. I've enjoyed most of what they've done so far.
Yeah, and let's get to that. We'll save some Soto stuff for later, but this episode's going to be about the guys they took. Now, Elijah Green is a really interesting player that they drafted last night. So they take Elijah Green, who is an outfielder from IMG Academy. He is 6'4". I've seen 6'3" someplace, but 6'4", 225. Now, it's big, it's a big thing that's been noted. He is the son of former NFL tight end Eric Green. And that's the one common thread, Max, that I've kind of seen through everything is that, look, this is a guy that looks like he shouldn't be a baseball player. He looks like he should be on a football field. He looks like he could play basketball. I mean, the bottom line is this kid is a really good athlete. And I know there's some questions. We'll get to those. But that's the thing that stood out to me is he has got all of the physical tools that you'd want in a, potentially really, people say potential superstar. Yeah, it kind of feels like that. Have you gotten the boom or bust vibe, or are you kind of following that? I think the athleticism to me is what sticks out.
So one thing, Nats literally just made the pick right now. They took Jared McKenzie, a 21-year-old from Baylor, who is another outfielder. So another guy you could talk on your other podcast.
Yes, Jared McKenzie.
Going into last night, I wanted Elijah Green. I was like, Drew Jones won't fall to 5. I want Elijah Green. I don't care about the swing and miss issues. Biggest upside in the draft. They got him. Mike Rizzo went swinging for the fences. Rizzo doesn't care if Rizzo drafted like he didn't care if he was going to be here in a year or two, depending on the whole situation. And he drafted for the future, and it worked out. This guy has everything. we'll talk about swing and miss issues a bit.
Mhm.
He has the power. He has the speed. He has the arm. He can play all three outfield positions. He can stick in center. He want. He has the arm to play right field. He has 40+ home run potential if he puts everything together. His best tool is his speed. 70 grade speed. This dude is flying. He was running like a 5.9, like in like some of the drills they're doing like at the combine for him. And then I know he used an aluminum bat because that's what they do in high school. I don't know if you've seen any of the videos that have gone viral since he got drafted. This dude mashes. Like he hits the ball and it just flies. And because he went to IMG Academy, he's playing against some of the top high school talent
Right.
in the country, and he was dominating. And yeah, the swing and miss issues. That's what people are going to talk about. Here's the thing: 2 years ago, he had 34 strikeouts, 16 walks. This past season, 21 and 21. He's already working on it.
Yeah, those. So we mentioned those things, and like the problem was they said he couldn't deal with a like uptick in velocity, and then also breaking stuff. These are things that you have to learn as a hitter. Like it's so hard to. Now he's playing against better competition. IMG does a really good job of challenging guys, and he's been at all these. He's done the tour, so he's been against a lot of good guys. But yeah, it's those concerns are there. But like physically speaking, this guy, defensively, like you're not going to have to worry about him, right? Like this is a guy that defensively is probably going to end up being a big league outfielder. It's just a matter of, can the offensive stuff behind it catch up? And I'll tell you what, we had some concerns last year about a really good athlete the Nationals drafted, right? Brady House, but so far so good in that front. So I think the Nationals are going for a certain kind of player. They kind of fall in love with the athleticism right now. And hey, I think there's a chance that it really could pay off for them.
I mean, he just oozes the tools, right? And fans could to the far been like it. They're like, well, they've had big tools you guys before, like Victor Robles. This guy is not Victor Robles. This guy is completely different because Robles didn't have the power like this guy. And I understand what they're saying because at the time Robles was touted as a 5-tool prospect. But this guy, man, he's something else. And yes, you can make the argument should be said that the Nats might not be the team currently to develop him because of their problems over the last decade developing talents that aren't, made in a petri dish, like perfect specimens. They have trouble if like they have to do anything. But yeah, I mean, this guy, he's already working on his own. Like the fact that he was able to lower his strikeouts so much and work on the walks just over a year at high school, playing against even better talent that comes in and the IGM Academy like pipeline, like who they play. I mean, he has it all. Fast. I'm just gonna keep repeating myself. I'm very happy. I love to see what will happen, and I'm glad that they swung for the fences with the pick last night. The thing that stood out to me the most was all mock season long, everyone was like Kevin Prada, Kevin Prada. And you and I both said it was very unlikely that the Nats were using a smokescreen. Well, Jesse Doherty wrote last night in a post for wrote an article for the Washington Post, the Nats were using a smokescreen. They wanted either Holiday or not Holiday. They wanted Elijah Green or they wanted Tamar Johnson. So I was wrong on that front. I didn't think the Nats were going to do a smokescreen, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, and well, things started getting going. We saw Kumar Rocker go at 3, which was.
Yeah.
I will say I want to mention like we watch so much. You watch the NFL draft. We get so much film on these guys. It's all like really nice. It's really funny because we have all this film of Kumar Rocker at Vanderbilt. And they elected to use like the grainy Atlantic League, like independent league footage. I was like, why are we doing this? Like, this makes no sense. We have all this ESPN footage. It was just really funny to me. But like, yeah, that's the one thing about these drafts. Like, okay, here's a side video of a kid taking ground balls. You know what I mean? Because they're all in high school. That's kind of the footage that we have at this point. Stuff from like Huddle or the Cube or whatever. And so I always think it's funny. But yeah, I mean, it's tough for us to know much about these guys. Same way with Brady House. It's like we just kind of need to get these guys in house. No pun intended. First to see what they've got, and then we can go from there. But like you mentioned, he's not Victor Robles. He's much bigger. He's much stronger than Victor's strong for his size, but like this is a big, strapping, strong dude who's fast. And there's just some things in between they have to fix. Now, that's for a lot of people, but he's just 18, so we don't know where this is going. All right, quick word from our sponsors here. And then we'll talk about the next pick the Nationals made last night, Jake Bennett from Oklahoma. But first, a word from our friends at Blue Nile. It is anniversary season at Blue Nile and BlueNile.com. You guys can make your moments sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com and going on now. It's the Blue Nile anniversary sale. You can save up to 40% on classic and fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Plus, every order is insured, it ships free, and arrives in a discreet package that won't give away what's inside. You don't have to worry about that. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. It's BlueNile.com. All right, so the next guy they get, and they prioritize pitching. A lot of this, we know they need it, to continue to keep getting guys. They get left-handed pitcher Jake Bennett, a redshirt sophomore, 6'6", 234. He went to high school with Cade Cavalli, I believe. Is same college, obviously, as Cade Cavalli, and he had a really, really nice year. This is a guy that was first team All Big 12. One of the, Oklahoma, they pitched their way to the College World Series, and it was because, of guys like him. And he really had a bunch of good stretches, especially towards the end. He lost a game in the World Series, 6 1/3, 7 hits, 4 runs, I believe, 3 earned, but 10 Ks. He had the splendid 8 strikeout performance against Virginia Tech, 7 innings in that regional. He had a really good start against Texas Tech late in the year when they swept the Red Raiders and, almost got them, they came close to it, almost, backing their way into the number 1 overall seed. They won in the Big 12 tournament. 11 strikeouts against Kansas State in a game where he only allowed 2 hits over the course of 7 innings. This is a guy that's got good stuff. He's a big guy. They said he's got a very repeatable delivery, and also he kind of projects to be a 4th or 5th guy. They need those guys badly, Max. They need guys like that. The one issue they've had recently is they've had a lack of depth, and they're calling guys, Jackson Tetrio and Anibal Sanchez obviously back in the mix now. And having to use Paulo Espino and having guys like Erasmo Ramirez. And they've had to go every single which way. I know obviously it's an individual, it's this season that we're not going to see him anytime soon, but you have to think like this is a clear need. This is not one of those guys I think we're going to see down in AAA forever. Like you kind of know what you have here and you just want to kind of bring him up, see what kind of stuff he's got and see if you can get him to the big leagues and hold on to the back end of that rotation as a Nats are trying to build for the future.
So first thing I thought of when I saw this pick, wasn't surprised. I don't know if you know this, but they previously drafted him in 2019 in the 39th round, and he decided to keep his commitment to go to college. And he was due to the shortened season and just the guys they had in front of him, like Cade Cavalli, didn't pitch as much at Oklahoma's first 2 seasons, broke out this year.
And then 2021 was rough for him. It wasn't a good year for him.
And then he broke out this year. He won 4 of his 5 playoff starts, and even though he lost his last start in the College World Series Finals, I still think he had 10 strikeouts in that game.
Yeah, he did. He had 10 Ks. Yeah, this guy's like he's going to be a good solid pitcher. I think that's kind of there's nothing too flashy. This is kind of the opposite of what an Elijah Green type pick is. You feel pretty confident about bringing this guy along, and they need those. They need the solid guys that can bring through because. I love Joe. I'm actually a huge Joe Ross fan, but like you're seeing it right now with the injuries. And Eric Fetty, that's been an up and down experience, right? They need some solid back end guys, and they're hoping. I think this, along with him and Josiah, and eventually, Jackson Rutledge, and bring up a Cade Cavalli. Like they want the makings of a good core moving forward. You don't have to go out and outsource your starting pitching because how many of those guys they have to outsource? Anibal and Corbin and Max, the only homegrown guy that they had there towards the end, I know Joe Ross was there too, but like the only real homegrown guy they had there in the end was Strasburg. And they won.
And another big thing to keep an eye on, a lot of the top prospects that we just talked about in the pitching department, a lot of them have control issues. What does this guy not have? Control issues. This last season, I have his numbers. Anybody. Yeah, he had what? 22 walks. 22 walks, 133 strikeouts.
Over the course of 117 innings.
Yeah, you need that.
2 walks. He never had a game where he walked more than 2 people. And so that just goes to show you, how good this guy is and how dependable he was too. 117 innings, over the course of, I'm trying to see however many starts it was. That's really good to have that. So I like guys like this. I'm like so conservative with like picks like this, but 17 starts. And his numbers on the thing are always. I hate this. The one thing about these websites,
They
they
don't show the
always
playoff
their
starts.
stats are always wrong. They have 104 and 104 and 2/3 innings. He worked
117.
117 over the course of the entire year and
I
only
have
had
his
those 22 walks. So, um,
so
117 innings. I mean, this guy gives
yeah.
length too.
He went 10-4 at 3.69 ERA, 133 strikeouts, and 117 innings. It's
For
pretty
those of you who
good.
don't know, the Big 12 is a very good league. It's a very, very good baseball league. It's Texas, it's Oklahoma, it's Oklahoma State, or obviously,
Baylor.
yeah, Baylor is in there as well. So they've got it's a very, very strong league. Texas Tech, TCU. So you're facing good hitting every single week in this league. All right, so let's go. Do you have anything else on?
Yeah, the only other thing I want to
Go ahead.
say is he's 6'6", right? He's touched 98 before. He averages 91 to 94. I mean, he's 6'6". More than not, he's gonna get a tick up on that fastball for how big he is, and that's gonna be awesome. And that's gonna help him
Well, if the
even
Nats
more.
analytics department can come along and help him maybe help him some spin. I mean,
Well, I'm hoping that whoever buys the team, brings in a new analytics department.
I just it's so funny how many stories about the Nationals were caused by a comment where Austin Voth was. I mean, all he was doing was praising the Orioles. Like
Yeah,
that's what
no,
he
it
was doing.
was.
There was nothing malicious in that comment, and I mean, rightfully so. It became like referendum on the Nationals player
Yeah, I mean,
development. But
I tweeted it out. Doherty read the same article. He tweeted it out the next day. Like I was just because it's funny, dude. I read that article because I was happy for those, and I was just in my bed reading the article, and anyone else would have ignored it. But Nats fans, I read it, and I was just like, oh, oh,
yeah,
and
it's just and you think it's like wow, there's and that's one thing too that's part of this big conversation with ownership and whatnot. It's going to change. So will that change too? Another guy I want to mention here that they end up getting in the third round, Trey Lipscomb. They get from Tennessee. That team hit a whole lot of home runs this year, and he was a big part of that. He in 66 games, he hit 22 home runs. He drove in 84 runners. He had a 428 on base, and he hit, let's say, the course of the year 355. Now, the one thing is, this is a 1 year sample for him. He had a decent short in 2020 and a he only had 29. Between those 2 years, basically, he had 55 ABs.
Mhm.
So, you're seeing there not a whole, not a lot from him. Um, but like this is a guy who I get this pick a lot. For a guy like this 6'1", 200's got a lot of pop and was part of a really, really good team. And I think he was an All-American this year for Tennessee, one of the best baseball teams we've seen in college in a long time. Any thoughts on Trey Lipscomb?
I mean, I was happy. I was surprised they got him, but then when I was looking at it, because he only had one really solid year because he was on the depth chart the first few seasons, I assume this, in addition to the second round pick, are both underslot. But I'm fine with it because for an underslot guy, I mean, his name recognition, he balled out, was instrumental in Tennessee having one of the best regular seasons in a long time for college baseball. Um, he hit bombs. He had the RBIs. Yes, he benefited from playing on a stacked lineup, but at the same time, because he's an SEC, arguably the best pitching in the country, he
Mm-hmm.
faced and he was not scared whatsoever. So I'm very happy with the pick. From what I've read, they think he has the tools to stick at third base, which is good because they need third base depth. Because as of now, Brady House isn't yet taking reps at third, and Carter Kieboom's out for the year, so they don't really have an answer at third base yet. So this is very helpful for the depth of the farm system that you and I are talking about. They need depth at all positions, so I like this pick.
Last one to get to, Brenner Cox. They got him. That's the last pick I've seen, at least. Probably there might have been one more before that, but an outfielder from Rock Hill, Texas. Now, I'm not sure if he is committed. I'm sure he's committed to play somewhere.
Texas.
Texas. So this to me at this spot, what do you think? Fourth round's pretty early. But that could be a guy ends up going to Texas.
So from what I'm watching on MLB Network before we got on, and it's Scott Braun, Jim Callis, and unfortunately I forgot the third guy that they're with. Anyways, they said if you're drafted in the first 10 rounds, more than likely you're going to go pro. There's always a
Mhm.
few exceptions, like we saw last year, Judd Fabian, Kumar Rocker. But more than likely, everyone drafted today is gonna sign with the team.
Right. And in fourth round, I mean, there's only so high you can climb, right? There's only
Mhm.
so much higher that you can climb. So, do you have anything? Do you know anything about him? I can't say I
I
know much. I
mean,
know he's 6'2", 190. Obviously a Texas guy. So,
this is from Prospects Live because I love to use their insight. Cox uses the whole field and is dangerous on the base paths in the outfield. He's a fairly complete player in that regard. The game power hasn't shown up too much just yet, but scouts believe the frame and bat speed could lend well to some future over the fence juice. He also pitched in high school, throwing 93 on the mound, but they believe that he's going to stick to hitting.
I was looking at the profile, right-hand pitching too. Hey, might as well give it a little bit of a try, right? Why
Mm-hmm.
not? Just
He's
see if that
I
stuff
think he
works.
throws lefty too.
Oh, and also, I mean, I think we mentioned it, but uh, um, Jake Bennett is left-handed, so
Yep.
that's big to get a lefty pitcher because I mean, hopefully he goes better than the last lefty guy they drafted
And
high,
then
which would have been Seth
yep.
Romero. Or, I'm not sure if anybody else was that, but
And then
that goes better.
their last pick was the Baylor guy. They took Jared McKenzie from
Jerry
Baylor.
McKenzie, outfielder. Yeah, he had a really good season. Really
So
good
I
season for
think
Baylor as their best player.
it looks like a few underslot money to give him
They're
a little
really trying to
more
pepper that
salary cap,
outfield and get some guys up. I mean,
which is
that's the
fine.
one that
And
it's fine. Because think about their outfield right now. I mean, think about where the outfield is. Like Robles, I mean, sure, whatever. Soto, we've got no clue. And then that left field is like a mixture of Yadiel Hernandez and Lane Thomas. So like it could all be up for grabs. I mean, they might just try to pepper these positions and hope they can just get a few guys up there.
I mean, yeah, because their top outfield guys aren't even at AAA. It's like TJ White, who's at high A, maybe double A right now. I mean, they traded for Casey Donovan, but he's kind of like not been able to get over the hump yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that on Casey
He's
do very
still in
well yet.
Triple A still, so they don't. Andrew Stevenson, like, are we really going to go back to the Andrew Stevenson experiment?
He's had a good year in AAA, but it's like there's a reason why I DFA'd him.
Mm-hmm. And there's a reason. I mean, yeah. And the thing with Casey Donovan, Jesse wrote this about a month ago. They called him up in the beginning of the season for about a week or two. He didn't play in a single game when they called him up. That messed with his head. He was like having problems, like mental problems. He was just
Yeah.
like, I got so close to my dream,
Donovan
wasn't able
Casey,
to
by the way.
picture it.
Donovan Casey.
Yeah, Donovan Casey.
Casey. Yeah.
Yes. And then since then,
Yeah.
Casey's been in the worst slump of his career, partly because the Nats called him up and didn't play him.
Yeah, that will do it to a guy. All right, one more
Yep.
quick word from our sponsors, and then we will get out of here. Today's show is brought to you by Built Bar. Built.com today. It's built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com today. Also, check out Locked On MLB Prospects. They'll have all the draft coverage you all need. Max, we won't even do one so today. We won't water down this very fun, exciting, thumbs up episode, I guess we could say, uplifting episode. We won't water it down. So what are you working on right now? Where can people find you and all of your work and its variety?
Working on a bunch of draft stuff for today and tomorrow. Follow us along right now because I'm currently writing a piece where I will be updating on every guy they take today. So if you want to have a little bit of knowledge on these guys, follow along. Addition on deck. And then once the draft ends, we'll be hopping into home run derby, all-star game stuff, talk about how Soto does with those. And then for the rest of the month, we'll just be focusing on the upcoming trade deadline. Hopefully, I don't have to write about trading Soto, but other guys like Josh Bell, Kyle Finnegan, Cesar Hernandez can be right about if the Nats can get some takers for them. So
Nelson
once again,
Cruz,
thanks, man.
State.
And Nelson Cruz,
Yeah.
Steve Cishek. So that's what I'm going to be working on. And once again, man, thanks for having me back.
Always, Max Raymond giving us the insights on the guys the Nats have drafted.